Welcome back to the Sidetracked Sport podcast. I'm your host, Jazmin, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about how fashion and sport all help to promote each other and influence each other and sort of integrate within each other as well. As always, I am very excited, but I'm particularly excited today because I'm joined by a fellow Jazmin. Today's special guest is Jazmin Sawyers, Olympic long jumper, coffee lover, and in my opinion, a fashion icon. And for any listeners that don't know just how cool Jazmin is, here's just a quick little rundown. Here's a quick snapshot. So first things first, of course, Jazmin's a two-time Olympian. She is the third best British female long jumper of all time. Unfortunately, she's recovering from an injury at the moment, but she still made it to the Olympics this year as a commentator, which is very, very cool. And of course, she was also a queen off the track as well. And she has made several of her own clothes for lots of different events, including for the Jonathan Ross Show, the BBC Sports Personality of the Year, and even for when she went to a Taylor Swift concert earlier this year. And so with that, welcome, Jazmin. I'm very thrilled to have you here today. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for that intro. I am really well, thank you. I'm doing great, especially after that nice intro.
Well, I'm glad you liked it. But let's sort of start with you and fashion and how you sort of got into making your own clothes. If you could sort of talk me through how you learned and what is it that made you want to start experimenting with sort of creating your own clothes, really?
So my very, very first experience of sewing was when I was sort of 15, 16, and my mum just showed me how to use a machine. And it was, I had a pair of, I was going to sixth form and I had a pair of suit trousers that I'd picked up really cheaply, but just were a horrible cut. But I liked the design. So I thought, okay, maybe I can fix this. And I did my kind of first botched job tailoring bit of sewing. And it was fine. It made the suit look a lot nicer. It was not very neat. That's actually probably a theme of my sewing all the way to now. But then didn't try and sew anything until I was, until the pandemic, when people were, obviously everyone was starting to mask up and people wanted masks that match their outfits. And I thought, well, okay, that's something I could maybe make. My social media algorithm was throwing people making their own masks at me. And I thought, that doesn't look that hard. I think I could try it. And I was locked down on my own, so I had very little else to do. So I bought a secondhand sewing machine and started to learn to sew, start with masks, and then kind of thought, well, if I can put this together, why not clothes? And it kind of spiraled from there. It was very much a case of, surely I can figure this out. And there's been, when I've got an idea for a piece of clothing, it rarely turns out how I think it's going to, but it's usually wearable. So that's kind of my take on things. I can't draw, so I can't design things out of my head onto paper. I have to design. It has to go straight from my head to the fabric.
Right.
Because my drawings don't look like anything that I'm trying to get across. So no, it was all just online. After starting with masks from, TikToks, I then started to look up YouTube tutorials for different things and realized there's a whole world out there of people teaching you to sew online for free. And so I've learned pretty much everything I know from strangers on the internet.
Wow, that's really cool, actually. Kind of odd to think about. I just assumed maybe, like you said, you'd learned from your mum. I thought maybe like a family member had taught you or like a friend started doing it and you got into it that way. But it makes sense thinking about it that the pandemic was the start. It's a lot of start for new hobbies for a lot of people, I think, as well, wasn't it?
But yeah, it felt like a time when you sort of had to be productive and had to pick up something new.
Yeah.
And yeah, my mum showed me how to use the machine, but she doesn't make clothes. She had the machine, I think, sort of in a more practical way. And then, yeah, in 2020, I decided to start actually making things. And then once you can make things, you go, well, why can't I make that and that and that? And then it started to become a bit of a challenge for myself to make things for events.
What's been your favorite piece that you've made so far? Do you have a favorite piece at all?
It's a tie between the jumpsuit that I made for Jonathan Ross. It's got these two heart cutouts in the shoulder that I loved, that was so complicated to figure out, but I loved them. And then the green dress that I wore to BBC Sports Personality of the Year last year,
Mm.
that was such, well, to be fair, both were such last minute jobs. The Jonathan Ross one, I didn't sleep at all the night before the show because I was finishing the outfit. I got halfway through the night and I thought it's not finished. If I try and sleep now, I'm not going to feel any better than if I just stay up and finish it, and I won't have an outfit. So I did that. And then the sports personality one, I literally finished the last stitch, put it in my bag, and walked out the door to drive to the
Oh
finish the
my
show.
gosh.
Um, but those two are probably my most fun. I'm trying to be a bit more regular and a bit less frantic with it, but I don't know. I work well under pressure. I only work under pressure, it seems.
You need like a deadline that's in about 5 minutes and then you'll get it done kind of thing.
Exactly, honestly.
And then obviously, sport does have a big impact on fashion trends itself as well. For example, we saw this summer a big trend of sort of NFL jerseys becoming sort of mainstream fashion, especially for women, which I was quite a big fan of, although I couldn't justify investing in a NFL jersey because they're a lot more expensive than I expected them to be. But also brands like Nike and Adidas both produce like athletic and sporty clothes, but also some more casual athleisure wear kind of clothes as well. And for me personally, I really love when people sort of subtly include maybe a club they support or a team they support into their outfit. So an example I really love is from this summer when Bukayo Saka's girlfriend, Talami Benson, she wore like a personalised Letterman jacket with his first ever number on. And I just absolutely loved that she incorporated then like the England vest into a little corset, and it looked so cute. But then obviously, as a sports person yourself, is there ways that maybe sport influences your personal style and your personal fashion at all?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes in two very different directions, but both apply to me. One is that I end up with a lot more sportswear in my wardrobe. And
Mm,
so incorporating that into my everyday wear just kind of makes sense because I have it. And so more sporty things than I think I would be inclined to wear otherwise end up sneaking into my personal style just because I have them, rather than going
mm,
out and buying something else. I already have this kind of sporty piece. Things like jackets, if I have a jacket that I am using for training and competition, but it's casual enough that it could look good with a casual outfit, then why buy a new jacket? But then on the other side, it's nice to get so far away from that
mm.
sports side of things that I love a really dressy outfit. If there's an opportunity to dress up and to step away from sort of sports fashion, then I love to take that and I like to go all out. If there's a dress code, I'm going to be, I always prefer to err on the side of overdressed
Yeah.
for anything that's an event outside of sport because I spend so much of my time in sportswear, which I like to, think about my outfits for training as well. And I like to look good at training, but that's sportswear. I love the chance then to go completely the other way and go, okay, there's nothing sporty about what I'm currently wearing, and this is purely an expression of style.
Mm.
So I like how it kind of goes both ways.
Yeah, I'd say I'm definitely the same in that sense because I've grown up obviously doing a lot of sport, and I probably don't have quite as many sports clothes in my wardrobe as you do, but I've still got probably more than I need or definitely need. I don't need as many as I've got. And so whenever a chance comes along to dress up, whether it be like a friend's birthday or something, like I love going out and sort of going ever so slightly over the top with it because why not? Like you don't get the chance to do it all the time. So you might as well go big or go home kind of thing, isn't it? And
Oh,
then like you said, like you like to think about what you wear to training as well. And you do always have some very, very cute training fits, whether it be like a matching cohort or something. There's always something very cute going on. But you've attended like some fashion shows, and I think it was Paris Fashion Week as well. And so it's clear to anyone that maybe follows you on Instagram or any other social media that fashion is quite a passion of yours and quite a big passion and something that you enjoy as well. And sport obviously itself is very intertwined with fashion, whether that be athletes maybe doing modelling, sports jerseys being worn casually, or even walk-in events like we often see a lot more with basketball, and we're starting to see a little bit in athletics as well. But how do you feel like the increasing rise of sport and fashion crossing over is going, and maybe where do you see it going in the future at all?
I think it's been a really positive way for sports people to try and keep people interested because, to be honest, sport is just having a hard time. Sport in general is having a hard time capturing people's attention because it seems like people's attention spans are getting shorter. And in order to be a real sports fan, you have to invest in the long run. And so athletes and sports organizations, I think, are finding really interesting ways, like fashion, to grab people's attention in the meantime. At the minute with athletics, there's nothing on the track going on. There's no track, there's no field. There's cross country and there's road, but there's nothing going on in stadium at the minute. And so all those athletes that are purely in stadium athletes have to find some other way. And yes, there's training videos, of course, but some other way of keeping their fans kind of engaged and also just to show their personality differently. I think the idea that Noah Lyles has and collaborated with Track and Fits to do over these last couple of years with the walk-ins at Diamond Leagues and other events, that is a really great way for fans to get to know athletes off the track. And there's not always the opportunity for that in track and field. With athletics, you only really get the tiniest amount of airtime because there's so many events and there's so many athletes. It's really hard to get across who you are when you're competing. And people, you can do that with fashion, accessorizing in competition, but there's only so much you can do. You either have a national kit or you have a sponsor kit, and that generally is pretty narrowly defined. And so you have to, you can accessorize, but you have to wear a certain thing. Whereas when you're walking into the event, you can really start to express yourself and you can get across what kind of person you are. And, I've had some fun with that, not this year just gone, but the year before, where I found some fabric in my local fabric shop that actually had someone doing long jump on it, which is so bizarre. I don't know who made that or why, but it was clearly for me. So I made a little, like a cord set with a sort of corset top and a skirt in that fabric, which, is something that nobody would ever wear to compete or train athletically, but that kind of reflected me in my athletic sense as well. So you really get an opportunity to push forward something other than I'm really good at X, which is the sport, through fashion. And I think that will just continue to grow. I think we'll see more and more athletes showcasing their interest in fashion and their own fashion sense, both through their social media and through sort of traditional media, like you say, attending fashion shows and things like that. And a lot of athletes do have creative interests outside of their sport. And I think fashion's quite a common one because, like I said, it is so self-expressive.
And yet, like, I agree, especially with what you said about Noah Lyles. He's a big character on and off the track, but a big part of his character is fashion and sort of promoting that and promoting his personality within that. And I do think that athletics can benefit from a bit more of that. Maybe it'd be great to see it like a world champs, like a walk-in. That would be, I think, absolutely insane. Even if maybe it's an event before the actual competition starts, because they're so manic once they get going. But maybe something at the start of the week or at the end of the week to give athletes a chance to sort of showcase their personalities and their fashion. But also even on the track, obviously, you've got your national kit or brand sponsor kit, but a lot of, especially the women, you see they experiment maybe with hair or nails and makeup or little accessories. Like there was quite a few with bows this summer in the Olympics, which I just loved. And I think that's another great way for, like, especially we've seen with the women, to express their sort of sense of fashion and sort of see how they want to go with it as well. Because Sha'Carri, she can be really bold with her outfit choices sometimes as well. And some people criticize her for it, but at the end of the day, she just wants to wear what she feels confident and powerful in. And if that's how she feels her best in, then I love it, to be honest, really. But how do you also think that maybe choosing your sort of fashion choices might help to empower you in your athletic ability as well? Is that something that you've sort of experienced at all?
Yeah, when I was standing on the runway, part of me feeling confident to go down and do my best jump is feeling confident in maybe 20, 30, 40,000 people are looking at me looking like in that moment. Sometimes I'll stand on the runway and I look up and there's a big screen and I can see myself, a giant big image of myself is reflected back. And so you have to be comfortable and confident in what you look like in that image in order for me to be able to dismiss that. It's not something I want to think about on the runway. I don't want any thoughts of what I look like to be infiltrating my concentration. And if I look up to the screen and it's not something that I feel confident about, I think that could distract me. It's all about knowing yourself. And I know that I can be easily distracted. And so I put things in place to avoid those kind of distractions. And so if I feel like I look good, if I feel like I look like somebody who's about to win, then that's another thing that adds to my confidence. And I also think it's just fun. I have a really good time choosing my nails for competition, deciding what hair I'm going to do, deciding what makeup I can find to match my kit. It's fun to me. And sometimes I think in the world of elite sport, it's easy to lose the element of fun. You know, most of us got into sport as a kid because we found it fun. You know, our friends were there, we loved competing, we loved winning. It was fun. And I like to try and keep that element of sport, even at this level, you know, even at the Olympics. I think it should still be fun. Yes, we've worked very, very hard and I put all this effort in to be the best, but I want to enjoy it. And for me, expressing myself in little sprinkles of fashion when I'm on that runway is part of that fun.
I guess it's also kind of the concept of look good, feel good as well. Sort of so reflecting on what you said, you can't perform your best if, like you said, you look up at the screen and you're like, oh, I wish I'd maybe worn something else, or wish I could have worn that top, or I don't know, it's such a small detail, but it's however you feel the best you are going to perform your best in as well. And sort of then
for some people, sorry, let me just,
no, it's all right.
quickly want to say that like this is how I feel about it, but I know that for some people it's the exact opposite. They feel like thinking about their hair, makeup, accessories for a competition is a distraction. And so for them, I think they would want to look up at the screen and not see anything other than absolutely just competition and no sort of flair or personality, because the way that they get the best out of themselves is just by being, you know, blinkers on and this is what I'm doing. But I think you've got to treat yourself as an individual and know that if that's not what works for you, then you can try something else.
Yeah, that definitely is a really good point to mention, actually. Yeah, because whilst maybe yourself and a lot of other athletes like to express themselves through fashion, it's not for everyone. And fashion's not a passion for everyone, and that's all right. But it is great fun at the same time to be able to explore different outfits and, you know, see what new things you can create with it as well. And then sort of looking into other sports, walk-ins are obviously quite a big thing in basketball, and we see a lot of fashion collabs with footballers as well. But is there anything from any other sports, sort of fashion related, that you would like to take and sort of bring into athletics at all?
Good question. That is something I've never really thought about. I think the other sports, it'd be interesting to have a different way to differentiate ourselves as an individual on our kit. So obviously we have our name bibs, but football, they have their actual names on the kit. I think that would be, and I don't know if that counts as a fashion thing, but I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
I think, you know what, there's one thing, and I asked about it once, and nobody really had an answer. Why can't we have glitter and sparkles on our kit like the gymnasts can? Okay, so the gymnast leotards are just an all-in-one, like the all-in-one that we wear to compete in. Why is theirs sparkly and mine is not? So I look at some of these leotards that I see at the Olympics, at the Commonwealth Games. At Commonwealth Games, basically, I tried to get the gymnastics leotard to compete in because I said, like, same thing. Why can I not wear that? It's the exact same as my leotard. There's no good reason I shouldn't be able to wear that. And at night, under the floodlights with the sparkles going everywhere, it would be amazing. It would be so fun. And it's just not something that we do. And I don't know why. I think, eventually we'll just head towards that. The idea of glitter and sparkles on kit, I think will make its way into athletics. And I'm pleased with that. I would love to see the sort of, what's the best way to put it? It's kind of the glam element of the actual leotard itself get pulled into athletics, because nobody looks at gymnasts and goes, oh, well, because they're sparkling, they're not as impressive, or they're not as serious, or, you know, it's the wild things they can do, they will do with or without the sparkles. So like, why not sparkles?
I love that. And actually, I'd so love to see that as well. If I ever see you in a sparkly leotard or something, I'll know you successfully completed the mission. Are you allowed to bedazzle them yourselves? Or are you not allowed to change the kit once it's given to you?
No, you're not allowed to change it. It's quite specific that you can't alter it. So you're kind of limited on what you can, how much you can personalize, which is why everybody goes for hair and nails and makeup, because, you know, that's not kit. Once you start to change the kit itself, you start to get into trouble.
That's a bit of a shame. I guess it makes sense sponsorship wise, but then sort of maybe what about spikes? Are you allowed to, I guess yours might be sponsored potentially anyway, but could you maybe put a little bit of sparkle on there?
Probably. I think you could probably get away with that. I'm always nervous about messing with shoes. I feel like the shoes are as they should be. They're the weight they should be. They're, you know, the sort of scientists that make them spent so long getting them right. Let me leave the shoes alone.
That's a good point. Especially in an event like athletics, the shoes can make a surprisingly big difference as well. And then sort of looking at other sports, what would you say are your maybe favourite fashion trends that are sort of sport related at all? Do you have any that you've sort of seen, whether you've maybe worn them yourself at all, but is there any you've seen and you're like, I just love that trend?
Ooh, what's related fashion trends? That's a good question. I think in general, I'm a big fan of that athleisure has become acceptable going out clothing. One, because I can go straight from training and do things, and that's completely normal. But two, because I think the level of comfort that we all want to experience has increased. And so the options are now broader and better. Aside from that, I can't think of anything sort of specific. Did you have anything?
There's one I quite like. I don't own like the item myself, but have you seen like the basketballs that get turned into like a handbag?
Oh, the bag.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
really
they are
cool.
so cute, especially when they bedazzle them as well. I think they are absolutely gorgeous and such a cute little touch as well. But or
Yeah.
even maybe just like a graphic tee of like a team or a athlete that you support as well. I quite like those because you can then sort of subtly wear it and it's not too in your face that maybe you support that personal team, but you know, it's still there and you can still rep them. I quite like a graphic tee as well.
It's fun. I love it. I love anything with a theme. Like when I went to Silverstone this year to watch the Formula One, it's my first time ever, and I got to go with TikTok, and TikTok work with Aston Martin. So I was going with both of them, and I thought, okay, let me, you know, stay on theme. So I made a top with a cutout, and the cutout is the Aston Martin logo. And it was just so fun to do it. I love a theme so much. The idea of being able to immediately identify what you're trying to do with your outfit is just so fun to me. It's like I want it to be in your face, you know?
Yeah.
And having just the logo as a cutout made it kind of look fashion, quote unquote, but also quite clearly for a purpose. So that was fun. I could get on board with more of that, you know?
Yeah.
Very obviously themed dressing, which, you know, we do that as sports fans. You know, people buy their favorite players' jerseys and wear them, but that's even more in your face. I'm talking like make something that you would wear anyway, but theme it. So that's very fun to me. But no, I agree with you. The basketball bags are so cool. I wonder how we could make that, how we could turn that into athletics. I'll leave it with me.
That can be a little brainstorm for another day. And then that's sort of coming to the end of the podcast now, but I just wanted to sort of go over if you have any upcoming fashion designs that you've got brainstormed or any ideas that you're wanting to make that you want to maybe share at all. Give us a little sneak peek.
I'm working on a couple of things at the minute. One is a dress for an event that kind of wraps up the year of athletics. And so I want to incorporate like a Paris theme into it. It's formal, so it'll be a long dress. And the room that we'll be in will be kind of gold. So I'm thinking that I'll make it black and gold, and I want some sort of nod to the Eiffel Tower on there. I've just ordered a load of sparkles so that it can be like the Eiffel Tower when it's sparkling at midnight.
Yes.
I don't want it to be flat out like bang, here's the Eiffel Tower, but something, you know, in that like A-line shape, maybe down the side, a different color to sort of indicate it, and then there'll be the sparkles. So I'm brainstorming exactly how to do that. I'm thinking kind of a black base, corseted bodice with a A-line skirt coming out, and then some sort of fabric change that nods to the Eiffel Tower. We'll see. It's not made yet. It's also not drawn anywhere because I tried and it didn't look anything like it looked in my head. So I'm just gonna have to make it and hope for the best.
I can't wait to see it. It sounds like it will be very, very cute. I'm very excited for that. But yeah, that is it from today's podcast, guys. I hope you enjoyed listening. It was great to have you here, Jazmin, and sort of talking all things sport and fashion and, you know, step away from just talking about you as an athlete. So it's great to sort of see the other side of your passions as well.
Thank you so much.
No worries. But thank you so much for giving up your time. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much, guys, for listening. I will catch you in the next episode. Bye.